Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the text again this year, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then I write from that clarity. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. We're reading from A Course in Miracles, Chapter 6, Section 1, The Message of the Crucifixion. Paragraph 17 says, I do not need gratitude, but you need to develop your weakened ability to be grateful, or you cannot appreciate God. He does not need your appreciation, but you do. You cannot love what you do not appreciate, for fear makes appreciation impossible. When you are afraid of what you are, you do not appreciate it and will therefore reject it. As a result, you will teach rejection. When I first began reading in the Course that I was afraid of God, I couldn't find that fear. Now, many years later, I find that idea funny. Of course, I was afraid of God. Why else would I be here? As the mind began to slowly heal, I saw how much fear I had. The following is what I wrote as I was learning not to fear God. Do I appreciate God? Do I appreciate Jesus? Do I appreciate myself? I had never really thought about this before. According to Jesus, I cannot love what I fear, so I don't fully appreciate God. I have much less fear of God than I used to, but it seems I'm not free of that fear yet. I sometimes feel a sense of deep gratitude well up in me when I think of God. I thank Him for creating me and for loving me. So I have developed a sense of gratitude for Him that is growing. I feel absolute and complete gratitude and love for Jesus. There's no fear in my mind when I think of my brother Jesus. This has developed over the years as I studied the Course. I appreciate his part in our awakening and I love him for it. Actually, it was in developing my gratitude for Jesus that I began feeling less fear and more appreciation for God. That I can admit that fear of God kept me from loving God shows me that the fear has lessened. At one time, I could not have written those words. I do appreciate myself. That sure wasn't true before. I hated myself and had no appreciation whatsoever. Slowly, as I studied the Course and practiced what I was learning, my mind began to heal and I stopped hating myself. Eventually, I developed appreciation and gratitude for myself. Now, I think I'm pretty awesome. I find as I write this that I am in love with myself. This is not an egocentric way of thinking that I'm better than others, look good, or I'm successful. I don't know how to explain this, and I didn't even know that it was true until I reflected on it here. I spent so many years thinking badly of myself and feeling profoundly guilty that I was surprised to discover that I don't feel that way anymore. It seems I'm not as identified with the ego as before. I see that it is my true self that I love. Since these changes have occurred, and since I am no longer rejecting myself, I have stopped teaching rejection. I see it come up in my mind sometimes, but I quickly realize that I have no use for rejection anymore and immediately ask for the atonement. It is just the ego mind trying to reassert itself into my consciousness, but I'm not interested. Here's something from my journal in 2013 that helped me. Now I'm going back to the fear of God. Jesus, could you help me see this differently? As I ask, I feel emotional and tears well up in my eyes. What do you want me to know about this? And here's what Jesus told me. Sister, the fear of God is a deep well within the mind of the separated ones, but it's a well of nothingness. You have nothing to fear. Your desire for your Father is very strong, and your devotion to your purpose has nurtured your desire. You are very appreciative of the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is a voice for God, the representative of God, while you still feel separate. You're not afraid of the Holy Spirit, are you? In fact, you're very grateful and appreciative of his voice in you. You're not as afraid of God as you think. So much of your fear is just a shadow, a memory that you return to at the call of the ego mind. That does not make it real. And you have learned, as you have learned, the thoughts in your mind are not your real thoughts. You hear the ego, but you are not the ego. God is love itself, and that love has extended as you. The love that is God is undiluted by the imaginings of the ego mind. It can only love. I know it's hard to understand something non-dual. The mind is still mired in duality, but love can only love. It cannot condemn because it is not condemnation. Because God created you as an extension of himself, he could not condemn you without condemning himself, and God is not insane. There's absolutely nothing to fear from God. Your imaginings cannot affect his nature, so you are perfectly safe. Dear sister, I'm in a position to know this, and you are here with me. Can you see now how unfounded is your fear of God? You are dreaming, sweetheart, just dreaming of fear and guilt. Nothing is happening. No one is threatening you, least of all love itself. You can wake up anytime you want. I went back over this and read it to myself. And I have to tell you, the ego mind was scrambling to take me away from this idea. I started thinking about correcting a sister, how people would think of what I was writing, and how inconvenient awakening would be at this moment. Like, would I be able to see my customers today? Then I will die if I keep thinking about this, that if I don't hurry up, I will be late for work. Really? That's what I'm concerned about now? Just any crazy thing the ego could think to distract and redirect my desire. I'm not interested in the ego. I ask that my mind be healed of any belief the ego has anything to offer me. God, here I am. Open my heart to your healing love and accept the atonement. I say yes. Please heal me of any fear that is still in my mind. I don't want to hide behind that fear anymore. And as a postscript, this is my personal journey that I share with you all, but please remember that there is no personal. And what is said to me is said for all. The Holy Spirit does not look at us and see many. He just sees the one Son of God. So nothing can be for me alone. Thank you so much for joining me in this writing. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with another reading. See you then.